And we're good.
I'd like to call to order the Town of McCandless meeting for October 26, 2020. Council met at 6 o'clock for attorney interviews and executive session. The invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Smith.
All right. Let's, I'm not one who's big on invocations, but let's have a good meeting. Let's try to look to whatever guides us to represent the interests of the town and its residents to the best of our abilities. And there'll be some disagreements along the way, hopefully not many, but let any disagreements be civil and well reasoned, and let everybody be open to all sides. And that's it for me for the invocation.
Are you ready to lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and justice for all.
and justice for all.
It is impossible to just do that nice and flowing because you hear everybody's voices all coming across at different times.
And that's okay, because we still all did it our own way, trying to make it through COVID. All right, thank you for that. Some announcements. I wanted to announce that indeed we did send a nicely written letter. Thank you, Bob. I think maybe Sandy helped you write that to the Speaker of the House, as well as our senators advocating for the hazardous duty pay for the ambulance first line responders, which they have not gotten yet. And we wanted to throw a little weight behind them and say we really think they should have that. Next, congratulations to Knit Hope. They had a record-breaking total of, so far, 1,617 hats and scarves from the community, and 413 were collected at Town Hall. So thank you, thank you, McCandless, for your generosity. I would also like to remind everyone to please get on McCandless and Me, the town's new engagement site. Was launched on September 28th. And it allows citizens to provide to the town feedback on everything. The latest edition was you can drop a pin where you've seen a deer. So we're expecting the whole thing will be read by the end of the night, okay, with all the deer that we have. But there's also a place where you can give your comments on chickens. There's a little chicken survey, as well as anything else that you might want to leave a comment about. I'd like to congratulate Councilmember Swagger. Did you get there? You are. You did get on. Good. And we have visual. Councilmember Swagger for being selected as a board member for the Allegheny County and Western Pennsylvania Association of Township Commissioners. Congratulations, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And for everyone who wants to have some fun, I will tell you that Team Spunholes and Team Zachary went out and got a pin. Here's our pin that we did the scavenger hunt for the Heritage Center and learned. I learned a lot about the town that I didn't know. So I would really encourage you as a fun thing to do, as well as supporting our Heritage Center to please participate in that. And there's prizes, and that goes through the end of the month, which is coming up very soon. One last announcement: stealing political signs is against the law. Don't do that. Whoever took mine, bring them back. And just know that people are filing reports with the police, and they are investigating that. So play nice. Don't do that. Okay. That's all the announcements that I have. Does anyone have anything? Okay. This is the time for public comment. You can put your name and your address, what you want to, subject you want to talk about in the chat box, and RJ will open the microphone if anyone has any public comment. RJ, do we have someone ready?
I do not have anybody signed up.
Okay. Oh, All right. All right, then, do I have the minutes were presented to everyone in council. Were there any changes that needed to be for the minutes for September the 28th of 2020? Were there any things that needed to be fixed or errors or? Okay, all right. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
That was Trish. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. All right, again, any comments that anyone needs to make on the minutes? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as submitted indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved. Liaison reports, Activities Committee.
Thank you. The Activities Committee report is in your folder, and just wanted to let you know we are looking forward to our turkey bingo on the 12th. And if you've not signed up, please be sure to do so. And we have some surprise guests joining us at the bingo this time.
A turkey. Okay, she's not going to tell us. I thought I'd get triggered. The EAC.
The EAC minutes were in your packet. Unless anyone has any questions or comments, that's all I have.
Congratulations. I think the total was 120 bags. Is that right? Of trash from roadside pickup? Was that
I
it?
actually I was out of town. I actually don't know the number, but I heard it was very successful.
It was pretty awesome. I think 120 was the last I heard from John.
Yeah, that was the number that John gave me, and 70 volunteers.
Okay, all right. So
Fabulous.
that's really good. Thank you. The Heritage Center. Sorry, I already did a plug for that, but anything else?
No, the minutes should be in your packet. They sold out their first run of the books for the Hidden Heritage Scavenger Hunt. So I think they did a second limited run. And I know they had already sold a few of those as of the meeting. And then I did bring up the possibility of changing the meeting, but I think they wanted to keep the meeting at 4:30, which means I probably will not be able to attend very many of them going forward. So I just wanted to.
Who is the backup liaison for that? Oh, well, here I can look right here.
Mike.
Okay, all right. Just communicate that with Mike so that you all can kind of coordinate that. So we just have someone there.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else, David?
Nope, that's all for that.
Okay. Joint Rec had no meeting. Junior, as our junior council member is here. Raj, would you like to? Is there anything that you would like to add or?
Am I here?
You're there.
So there's nothing I would like to add, but if anybody had questions, please feel free to email me directly, considering anything you might have. That's really it.
Okay. Okay. And Raj, I did reach out to you and say we want to hear a little bit more of your opinion and not
Yeah,
just strictly
absolutely.
reporting. Okay.
Yeah, I just met
And,
Trish, and that's what we talked about. That's great.
Perfect. Good. Good. We look forward to hearing from your perspective.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. The McCandless Ambulance Authority, McCandless Franklin Park Ambulance Authority.
So unfortunately, I think the minutes that are in your packet actually are the same minutes that were in the last meeting. I was not able, we only had our last board meeting on the 20th of October. So the minutes were not complete in time for inclusion, but I expect to get them this week and I'll forward them to council. And I think that council received the most recent correspondence from the authority. And I believe, Bob, you are setting up or have set up a meeting with the other municipalities coming up. Is that this week?
Yeah, Wednesday afternoon.
Okay. So I think there's more to come after Bob's meeting. They'll have to report to us. And
Okay.
that's all. Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you.
I think there was no meeting for the MIDA Sanitary Authority.
The minutes should be in your packet. Nothing real new to report. Everything is going pretty well over there. They're plugging along.
Okay, great. North Hills COG,
The approved minutes from the July meeting are in your packets. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them.
thank you for submitting those. They are really good minutes. I'm not sure why we've not gotten much of that in the past, but it's good. Thank you.
Mhm.
The library.
My apologies for getting the materials over late. I had thought I forwarded them, but I guess I had not. But the information did eventually make its way into the packet. There is a meeting tomorrow on the budget, so I will be there for that.
Okay. All right, the Community Development Authority, I believe there was no meeting for that. How about the Personnel Board?
Okay, so everyone has their notes from Bob. I wanted to ask a quick question. Does council want to move forward with any of the promotions? For Ryan's position, sergeants?
I think one of the things that we had, well, it's in the minutes, but I think what we're trying to look at was, before we did any promotions, was to actually see what the officers were doing and have them maybe see what non-policing duties that they were doing, and trying to figure out what maybe what they were doing that we could take off of them in another way. So what I understood.
We get the report.
So Bob, is this where we were thinking that we were going with, kind of looking to make sure that what staffing we needed by what people are doing,
And the
But-
personnel board has reached out, or is reaching out to the various officers to have discussions with them in
I thought
order
they're-
to,
I thought
to
they were
get
almost done with that.
they might be. I haven't seen any kind of an update from them.
Yeah, well, in the emails I saw that they said that they were pretty much done. They were gonna finish up the report, but they were still asking me again if we could go ahead with the promotions. And I told them what our past practice was, that Ryan would have to come to council, that's what DeSandy had done in the past to ask. But anyhow, I'm just asking just to get the ball rolling here, so.
I think we were going to look at that report and
Okay.
just see how that workload looked, and see, do we need more surgeons? Do we need more lieutenants? Do we need more officers? Do we need to change where they are? Do we need to have some clerical help to help with some of the reports so they can do more policing? So I think we were wanting them to do that report first,
Okay, we'll wait.
and
till
then, and then look at, evaluate that, and
Okay.
then see if any changes needed to be made. They may not, but to see if, see what it said. It's good to evaluate every now and then to see
Oh,
you know,
yeah, absolutely.
what's going on. Because you don't want your officers sitting behind the desk pushing papers when they could be out policing, right? So, anything else, Carolyn?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Planning Commission had no meeting, so technology.
The minutes are included in your packets. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
We may have to get an appendix with their minutes so we can understand what they're talking about, Angela. Just saying. I don't think there was a meeting for the Volunteer Firefighters Steering Committee.
No,
And,
can I ask a question?
oh, sure.
Sorry.
No.
So I actually had a town resident call me and ask when we would open it back up I open it up where he could get the tax credit because he's a volunteer firefighter at Ross, but lives here in McCandless. So I want to see what you guys think about that. Because currently it's only if you live in McCandless, serve in McCandless.
Now, we had discussed that when we What time of year did we approve the, all the people for the tax? Was that at the end
I
of the
want to
year?
say that was a
This-
year ago.
This
Right.
time of the year.
Yeah.
It was this time of the year. Okay.
And the problem is we were going to talk about this with the steering committee, but because we've had no meetings, just get the feedback from all the chiefs,
Right.
we're kind of like on hold. And at this point, I think the 7 of us just need to talk and figure this one out.
Madam President, is this something we have to do every year?
What we have to do is the chiefs submit the names of the people who meet the criteria, because you have to work like so many hours that you have to do.
Mhm.
There's like a criteria to get the tax cut. And what we have done, and so the chiefs will say, here's a list of those people, and then we approve that list. That's how this was done and all the places that it's done. So some of the other communities, as Carolyn has said, will give the tax credit to people who work outside the community. Like if a citizen of McCandless volunteers in Ross. McCandless has not done that in the past because this is a recruiting tool. Now, this is the rationale we had. I'm not saying we have to keep this rationale, but the rationale we've had is this is a recruiting tool. You get this tax break to volunteer, but we need the volunteers, in McCandless, we need the volunteers. So our position has been that if you volunteer in McCandless, we give you the tax break. If you volunteer somewhere else, you don't get the tax break. So Carolyn's asking, do we want to change that, or do we want to keep that? Or is it something to think about? And then when we approve, I don't know what.
Come back to because the other thing is some of these residents, they've served, whether it's Shaler or Donna Ross, they've been doing this for so many years. And, I understand they hate to leave those departments and come, and do something here in our town. And, I understand we want to retain everyone here in McCandless that we possibly can for our firefighters, for our fire departments. But at the same time, if they've been working for volunteering for 15 to 20 years, I don't think it's fair that they don't get it. So.
If you talk to Fire Marshal Stack, he will tell you that some of our fire companies are having a very difficult time recruiting, very
Yes.
difficult
Yeah.
time. So I understand what Carolyn's saying, but I'd really like to motivate people to
Stay within the town.
join our companies locally. But I mean, that's, like I said, that's been the rationale. Is this something you guys want to put on the agenda and talk about more? Is this something you want to talk about now? I was just giving you the history on that. Why don't we think about it? Oh, go ahead, Trish.
I appreciate both sides that are being presented here. I know my brother has served with Berkeley Hills for many years, and there are many individuals who treat their volunteer company as family, and it's hard to leave family. But at the same time, I understand Marshall Stack's need for more volunteers in our community. Is it a possibility that we could say there's a prorated type of tax credit where the full credit would be for those serving in McCandless and maybe a half credit who are serving in our neighboring communities?
Mr. Solicitor?
I mean, that's a new question for me. We'd have to look into that. But we could certainly do that and get back to council to see if that's an option.
Angela, I think you had your hand up too.
I did. I was wondering whether we have anyone, does this work the other way? As in, do we have people who live in Ross Township, for instance, who volunteer in McCandless?
We do, and
Okay.
I'm not sure if we have reciprocity with Ross, but some of the towns, I know we do. Some of them
Okay.
give it across for everyone, and some don't. I don't have
Okay.
I don't have a list of who those are. I'm not sure if Mr. Rob has that, but I do know some of them absolutely do that, but not everyone does that. Okay. Oh, Shelley?
I just wanted to say, because this is the first I'm hearing about this, and we have multiple newer members of council. I think it's a worthy discussion, and there's definitely two sides to it. But it would be good to have that discussion around and know a little bit more about how much money in tax credits are we talking about? How many people are affected, to get an answer about what the current reciprocity facts are. I just think if someone could put together more of the facts to give to council, I think that would be the best basis for a discussion and a decision.
Shelley, I agree with that. And that's one of the reasons that I have asked council members that if you want something on the agenda to be brought up, please just let me know, just so for that very reason that Shelley said, so we can get these facts together. So people do have time, to prepare and to, look at all the information. So,
Can I say one more thing?
oh, sure, go
Sorry.
ahead.
So Dan just texted me and he said, and this is what the one individual from town that called me, he said Dan is in favor that residents who do live here, who may have happened to live in Shaler or Ross before, that happened to move to McCandless, but that's why they were originally volunteers there and stayed there. He said he wants to be able to give it to all and not, exclude people all because they live here, but they serve in Ross. And I do know Ross is the same way. Because last year I talked to Joe Laslovic, he said that they would give the credit if it was someone outside of Ross, but volunteering. So I just asked Dan in text, do you mind if I share this with everyone? He said, for sure, he wants you guys to know that he wants, is he on the, he should be on, I guess he's on the call.
He is on the call.
Could we let him, I feel like if Dan's here, let's let him.
So Carolyn, can we just
Yeah.
have a whole discussion about this
Yeah.
and put the agenda? So
Sounds good.
let's just put it on the agenda,
Okay.
and then we can have all the information. Gavin can look into the partial tax cut. We can get all the facts, and then any information that we'll include Dan in that, and any information that he has, any numbers that he has, or his own
Okay.
opinion, he can send
Sure.
that around to everyone, and then we'll
Yeah.
have all that.
Yeah. 'Cause I mean, I truly do value Dan's opinion the most because he knows all the guys and
Right.
has been, connected to pretty much everyone in our town, whether they serve here or other areas, because they all do work together no matter what. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, sure. And I'm putting that down for a future agenda, okay? Okay. Okay, zoning hearing board.
The information was in your packet. Just to let our residents know, there are a couple of issues that do need further discussion. So the more information you can provide to the zoning hearing board, the quicker your chances of getting a decision made. I know our board takes a lot of time to really consider these decisions and how they affect the neighbors in our community. So I do appreciate the work that they're doing, and patience is sometimes needed, and I appreciate folks' patience.
Okay. Under correspondence, I just had one thing. Anyone who's interested in having your restaurant or know of a restaurant that you go to that you're interested in finding out if it's certified by the PA Unit Against COVID, it's on the PA Gov site. For additional information, you can visit that, and it actually has a list of restaurants that are COVID compliant. And I have asked John Brzezowski to please put some of this information on our small business bulletin board on our town website so people can access that also. I received a correspondence about that. Sounds like a pretty good program. If you're questionable about, had questions about some of the local restaurants. Town manager's report.
You all have received a copy of the manager's report. It's in your packet. I just wanted to highlight two items this evening. One is that the communities in the Pine Creek watershed met again last week with Tetra Tech, the EPA and DEP to finalize the proposed watershed implementation plan for Pine Creek. The plan will address water quality, erosion, and sedimentation, as well as flooding. They have identified critical areas to focus their efforts in the first years of the implementation. The good news is that there are a number of McCandless projects that have been included in that, which will aid us in future funding requests that we make. In addition, you all received a first attempt at a monthly engineers report. So we thought that that would be a good way of giving you some background on the checks listed on the check request so that you have a little bit more perspective. And feel free to give us comments back on that so that we can get information to you that you can find beneficial. And that concludes the manager's report.
I love the engineer report. That's a great idea. Thank you, Dan, if you're on here. I'm a little bit concerned that we're still having the water issues at Terrace Place. Do we need to send a letter to PennDOT and the developer saying that, you know, it's going to be freezing weather pretty soon, and we still have water going out on Babcock? Do we need to send a letter to them and encourage them? Do you think that'll make any difference?
I don't know whether it would make any difference. It certainly won't hurt anything to do that and to be on record as making that statement. The last meeting occurred in August, I think, if memory serves. But we can follow up on that.
And maybe get an update. Maybe they're already resolving it and we're just not aware. But I am very concerned about that water going out on Babcock, because it's going to flow right across Babcock and make a sheet of ice right there. Okay, town attorney's report.
Thank you, Madam President. My town attorney's report was on file. If there's any questions, I'm happy to try to address them.
All right. We have the checklist of bills. Is there a motion to approve them?
I moved.
Okay, Angela, put her hands up first.
Madam
Okay.
President, I move to approve check listing number 9 dated September 1st through September 30th, 2020, totaling $1,101,034.83 as submitted to each member of council and posted on the bulletin board and town website.
Okay, Councilmember Sponholz, would you like to second that?
I would love to. I second.
Okay, good job by you. Are there any questions or comments about the checklist? Trisha's here if we have anything. Okay. All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the checklist, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we're going to try our new policy here on B. Ready? Nominations are now in order for the position of the zoning hearing board. Is there a nomination from the nominating committee for the zoning hearing board?
Yes,
Trisha,
I move to adopt resolution number 21 of the 2020 series, a resolution appointing Scott Metzger as a member of the Town of McCandless Zoning Hearing Board for a 3-year term to commence January 1st, 2021 and expire on December 31, 2023.
Second.
okay, Carolyn. All right, so at this point, I would ask if there are any other nominations. We don't necessarily have to have a second for these, but if there were any more nominations, but we only had one person apply. So I'm not going to ask for any other nominations. So since there are no other nominations, we can, and we don't have to vote by name this time since we just have one person. So it'll just be a yay or a nay, because I know we're trying to do our new policy, but we can't quite do it with just one person. So all those in favor of appointing Scott Metzger to the zoning hearing board, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Appointment is approved. Before we go on to new business, We said that we would talk about keeping, or what we want to do with our Zoom meetings. I have to tell you, it's no secret that there's, they think we're in the second surge as what everybody predicted. Flu season is through March. I personally am for staying on Zoom, and we can look at this again in March, but what do you all think?
What's the limitation in the room?
26 total right now.
26.
Oh, 26. Yes, Angela.
Mr. Grimm, are we prepared for a hybrid model meeting?
We are? Yes, we are.
I wonder if we could do something, Madam President, where we, depending on which council members were comfortable, if we could do odd wards the first meeting, even wards the second meeting, or if you're not comfortable attending at all, you could always stay home and, participate from your house. I don't know how, it sounds like we still have to limit public participation in person somehow. I don't know how we would decide who can
Mr.
go and who can't.
Right.
I think that sounds like a good idea. And I also think that if anyone wants to call in and make public comment who is at home, that they should be able to do so, via Zoom.
Bob, do you have a official way that you planned on doing this hybrid model? On who was going to come, or do you want to prepare? Is that something that we can talk about? Is that, I'm putting you on the spot. I'm not saying you have to talk about it now, but do you want to propose a model? I mean, I don't think we want to sit here and work out a model right now. Do you want to, what did you have in mind? I mean, you proposed the hybrid format.
Well, I think that the only real question in my mind with the hybrid format would be how we limit the public attendance, legally limit the public attendance in the room. And it would have to be just by the number of people that are present. So that's my only real question. From a technology standpoint, I believe that we have everything set up and we're ready to go. It's simply a matter of having things spread out in order for us to be able to safely do this. Let me write something up for you all, and I'll get that out to you to see or to look at in terms of how we can proceed with this. Based on what Angela had talked about with the odd and even wards being represented, and then we can massage that as needed.
Can we send out some feelers to see if anyone is interested in attending the meetings? Because, I mean, we have a new engagement platform.
Well, that might be a good idea.
Well, it might be.
Madam President,
See?
I would just want to point out that the people who we capture on the McCandless and Me are the same people who are able to dial in to Zoom. And I think the people that I'm concerned about are the people who don't have access to that kind of technology and are more comfortable, attending a meeting in person.
How should we ask them?
I don't know. Therein lies the problem, right? This is the kind of stuff we need to work through. If we make the meetings public, we just have to have some limitation on how many people are in the room. And I have no idea. And maybe the town attorney could weigh in on how you legally, to first come, first served, or what do you do there?
That's the way I've seen it in some other places, to be honest with you. It has been first come, first serve. And then, the door is posted with the call-in / login information. So if someone does show up after the capacity has been reached, there's at least a phone number, posted at the building where they can call in. But, there's no perfect answer. It's everyone just sort of muddling through it the best they can.
Do you want to, Mike?
Does it have to be held at the town, at the town, in the town council space in our municipal building? Could it be held at an auditorium at NA?
The issue that we have now is that we have the technology in place in
that room?
in
Okay.
that room.
Question.
David?
With the setup in the room, does it matter how many council members go for spacing? So in other words, if there were only 2 council members who went in person each time, would that allow more people, more citizens to go? Or because of the setup of the room, would it not matter?
No, I think to be blunt about it, my biggest concern is separating the council, safely separating the council. And to your point, I've wondered about even just having one council member or 2 council members attend to be able to interact with the residents. And, we would have to talk about staff who would attend in person, who wouldn't, because we have other parts of the building where we can have people coming in by Zoom and be available to walk down the hall if need be. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. And I think, as Gavin said, we're feeling our way through it. So there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer. It's trying to find the McCandless answer, what works for McCandless.
Do you want to put some things together and send it around and have on your SharePoint? And then people can throw in their ideas there and see if we can come up with something that works?
Yeah, we'll start with that, and then we can just massage the idea from there.
How does that sound, Councilmember Woods? You like that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, since you brought that up.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So Bob will let us know when maybe he'll put together a skeleton draft on SharePoint, and then we can go in and work on that. All right? Okay. Okay, I think we are now down to review of the budget program. I think you're on, Trish. Not Clunan, but Great House.
For the first time, it's me and not Trish Clunan. I'm trying to get it. There we go. So we have our first budget workshop this evening. We're going to start off this process. It will continue over the next few meetings. As always, if you have any questions through the course of this, feel free to stop us or to contact Bob or myself during the week, either by phone or email. All questions are welcome. Tonight's program review will include revenues. It will include general government departments as well as public safety departments and a couple of the culture and recreation departments. This is the 2021 proposed consolidated budget. The total consolidated budget is $21 million, with 16 million of that being general fund, which is the general operating fund of the town.
I was going to say, feel free to stop us as we're going through this. It is somewhat of a repetition for you folks that in terms of the meetings that we had last week. So, if you see something that you want to ask a question about, feel free to stop us as we are proceeding. The revenue in general is largely derived from earned income tax and real estate tax being the two major sources, is then followed by business privilege and real estate transfer tax and local services taxes. Then there's a number of other charges, fees, permits, and licenses that make up the total of $15,053,000 in actual revenue that will be derived next year. And what you see in front of you is a chart similar to what you saw at the meetings last week. The pie chart shows percentages of where the money comes from. You'll see that earned income, again, is the largest portion of the revenue that the town derives, followed by real estate tax, realty transfer tax, and business privilege taxes. The budget is based on no millage increase, and it is based with a very conservative number budgeted for earned income tax. The anticipation is that we will see impact in the earned income tax through, because of the COVID pandemic, as it relates to bonuses that corporations would typically hand out in the first or second quarter of 2021. So we have not seen as great an impact in earned income tax throughout 2020 as we anticipated, but we are still anticipating that to be impacted moving forward. We also anticipate a significant impact in the business privilege tax because of the amount of time a number of the businesses in the canvas were closed during 2020. So the pie chart in front of you now shows where the money goes. Almost 50% of the town budget is sent to public safety or pays for public safety, and that is police, crossing guards, and fire. 23% is public works. 14% is general government, and that is made up of financial administration in general, and the building. 6% culture, and 7% to other funds. The general fund is broken out into, as I said, financial administration being 1/3 of that. A large portion of that number is based on the insurance policies that the town pays. All of those are found under financial administration. That accounts for $250,000 of that number. You'll see also throughout the course of the budget, as we had noted before, changes in salaries. We've moved some people around to better reflect, so I should better report the total salary of individuals, and they are now housed in areas where they are primarily responsible. So the town council budget is $69,800, which is an increase, but that increase is reflected in the fact that we have moved the retainer portion of legal fees into town council, since that retainer is based largely on the number of meetings that a attorney would attend throughout the course of the month. Otherwise, there are very few changes to the budget. Town administration is based on having manager and administrative assistant, and we're paying for 1/2 of the receptionist cost. And largely that remains unchanged, I think, with the exception of, yeah, we have moved Tricia Grayhouse's salary over to finance. So by and large, it's fairly unchanged other than that. Financial administration, as I mentioned, is significantly changed in part because of Tricia's salary being moved from administration. And as I had mentioned earlier, $250,000 of that total cost, or roughly 1/3 of that budget, is the insurance policies, various insurance policies that the town has. And just from an informational perspective, the town does receive a dividend back from the trust that it participates in annually, and that is roughly $50,000 a year. So our net expense for our insurance policies is right around $200,000 a year. And I guess one thing I need to say in under financial administration, another big item there that we can discuss if you'd like is the addition of, or the purchase of enterprise software that can be used throughout the town. You'll see numbers for these costs associated with in finance, tax, building, and in planning. And this is a proposed software that will interact, and it will work with all the different departments, create the ability to have more efficient and timely responses to items that we receive on a daily basis, like no lien requests, solicitation permits, be more efficient and effective with staff time, avoiding duplication of work, so that we can consider other projects and effort to provide new services of the town without adding staff. Working so that we're not incurring other, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. It will give us the ability to have online applications for building permits, for parks permits, and also provide real-time information for all departments so that we can provide up-to-date and accurate information to residents and businesses. In some packages that we're looking at, you have the ability to incorporate customer self-service applications for mobile devices so that they can submit a request for service or even an application from their mobile device. So the goal here is to end duplication, add efficiency, and create better customer service through this effort.
Bob, did we take any bids or RFPs for this software? It's a really big purchase. We'll see this repeated in different departments, but it's going to be a very large purchase. What's going to be the total for this? What's going to be the total over 2 years, and then how much this year and how much next year for this software?
The total for The 2-year total for this project, including hardware, would be $210,000. And we will be doing RFPs for it, reviewing proposals so that we can get the best price that we can for the software. We're not going to do this without doing our due diligence.
So the enterprise is not the software, but
The
it's a
enterprise is
benefit?
the enterprise is the software. There's also a file server that would account for about $10,000 of that cost. So $110,000 is budgeted in 2021 and another 100 in 2022.
But if we've already decided it's enterprise, how are we doing the bids in the RFP?
The term enterprise is a generic term that reflects something that works throughout the entire organization. It may be a two pieces of software that speak to each other, but currently, and for the public's information, one of the concerns and one of the issues that we've had over time is the fact that there are several different software vendors that provide service to the town. Business privilege and real estate tax have separate softwares. The accounting and payroll system is a separate software. The building inspection has a different software, and fire marshal has yet another software. The problem is that nothing speaks to each other.
Right.
So we're finding ourselves duplicating a lot of effort and spending a lot of time re-entering data that the system could take care of and allow our staff to do other work that we think is necessary to serve the public.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure there's a good understanding of what was going on with that large of a purchase.
And this also, for the public's information, this is the primary tool that a number of our staff members use day in and day out. So in my mind, I've equated this to looking at buying a truck for public works or a car for the police department. This is the tool that a lot of our people use day in and day out.
So if this saves some time on administrative costs because people aren't duplicating these efforts, what will they be doing instead?
Well, there's a number of different examples. One is that we've not had enough time to put welcome packets together for new residents. We'll be able to get back to that. The McCandless and Me site is a perfect example. We can free up time to be able to make sure that we're putting the time and effort and energy into that to get the fullest extent that we can out of that. And we're doing that in a way, or we will do that in a way that doesn't require that we add a staff member in order to be able to do that. We're going to be doing more work on the cable access channel. We can also free up time for people to do other work so that John has the time to do that. So we're going to shift duties around as necessary once we have some freed up time and get a whole lot more work done.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay. Tax collection. There's not a significant difference in this. We have one person full-time one part-time person and half of the receptionist budgeted in this. And the tax office handles the collection of the business privilege tax, the per capita tax for the school district, and for the real estate tax for both the school and the town. And the school district reimburses the town for half of the cost of the collection effort. Citizen information, you'll see some significant changes. We've listed all of John Bajarski's salaries now under citizen information, where he was split up to the point of probably feeling schizophrenic when he's doing a payroll report for me every other week. So that's one significant difference that you see in this. The other difference that you'll see is the additional cost for under services and charges for the Engagement HQ platform. And we've incorporated some costs associated with the, in the event that we have costs for the cable access work, if we need to charge anything to that line item. For building and plant, there, again, not a lot of significant expenses here. This is just the costs associated with running the buildings here in the town. It's the town hall, the public works building, and the heritage, well, not the utilities for the Heritage Center, but the cost for the cleaning contracts for all three buildings is found in this line item. And we've adjusted that in part because of the additional work related to disinfecting because of COVID. And we've also added costs associated with having the safety committee that we've started in 2020 continue. The nice part about that is that with the creation of the safety committee, the fire department workers' comp policy does have the ability to take a 5% discount on its workers' compensation premium. So we will see about a $4,000 to $5,000 a year savings in that premium as a result of that. So our net cost to add the safety committee component to all of this is about $4,500 a year. Public safety, as you can see, 76% of the public safety budget is police protection, and 14% fire, 4% planning and zoning. It also includes school crossing guards and code enforcement, as well as the costs associated with providing maintenance and fuel for the ambulance authority. The police department budget includes the purchase of body-worn cameras. We are going to attempt this year to, and let me say, the body-worn cameras, the expense that we have included is $72,000. We're hoping that we can obtain a grant or grants that can reimburse us for up to half of the cost of those cameras. Roughly half of that $72,000 is the cost of the cameras themselves. The other half is for additional file server space and technology in order to be able to maintain that footage for roughly a 30-day period.
I do want to mention too that the department heads are on the call tonight if you have specific questions that you'd like to ask them. But, you know, feel free to interject at any point.
So as I started to say, we're working this year with Chief Hawk, and I appreciate his flexibility in what we're trying to accomplish in extending the life of the police fleet and then slowly reducing the overall number by 2 vehicles by creating some flexibility between the police and code officials for use of the vehicles off hours when we may need some additional details to be called out. The other item that I wanted to bring to your attention is that we have included the replacement of 1 police officer in this budget. We have not included 1 officer. We had Chief Hawk's promotion to chief. This year they created a vacancy as well as a retirement for Sergeant Etrie. And we are proposing to replace one of those 2 positions at this time. It is a contingent item that you will have noted in my narrative that was submitted with the overall budget. Some of this will be the actual budgeting, and the filling of these positions would be based on the review that the Personnel Board is currently doing of the department. And we've also incorporated cost in there for patrol officer exams and promotional exams if we chose to move forward with those. For the fire protection and prevention.
Oh, Bob, I had a quick question
Sure.
on the police, and maybe it's you or maybe it's Ryan has more insight on it. For the budgeted amount for the overtime, the regular overtime and the outside detail, is that due to those open positions, or is that kind of I guess like a perk? I don't want to call it a perk. My concern is, are the officers getting overworked and that's why there's that overtime because of those open positions, or no?
Let me start with the detail overtime, and that is specific to theaters. The Cinemark Theater has an agreement that we provide officers on the weekends. That occurred after some of the theater shootings from out in Colorado or somewhere out west. And so they created a nationwide policy that they wanted officers on scene on the weekends. We get reimbursed for that. So the detail by and large gets reimbursed, and you would see that in the revenue line item. The overall overtime, it can be for any number of reasons. It could be filling a gap for a sick leave, for a personal day. It can be for court time, any number of different reasons for that. Ryan can certainly add to that. I mean, I think, to be honest about it, if you have fewer positions, it's likely that you would have to fill gaps at times, but it's sometimes it's easier, I think, to fill overtime than it is to hire the full-blown officer, at least short term until we see financially where we go.
Okay, yeah, like I said, my concern was more just people being overworked. That was,
I don't want to speak to that. I think that would be, Chief would be better to speak to that issue than I am.
Dave, I'm here. I would say it's the truth of the matter is probably somewhere in between. I don't believe they're overworked at this point. I just think, like everyone out there right now, there may be a little corona fatigue. I think Bob nailed it when he said, it's a mix of things. It's personal days and unforeseen, time off, like a sick time. We've had more than our fair share of potential exposures over the last 6 or so months. And that, creates a little overtime. And what you folks may or may not know is there's a 3 officer minimum that we have to staff for every shift. And if it falls below that 3 because of some sort of discretionary leave, like a sick day that you cannot, stop, then the overtime, the 8 hours overtime kicks in where you have to, hire an officer for overtime. I certainly would say that, we down the road after this evaluation's done and such, additional officers, it's a luxury that, hopefully we'll be able to afford replacing in the future. But I don't think we're at a point now where we have officers that are completely, overworked, I guess is what I'm saying. I think it's, like Bob said, it's a mix of things. It's a mix of discretionary leave and details and such that contribute to that number. The details could be paving, traffic details, the Cinemark. The school district hires us for football games, basketball games, granted not much this season, but at any rate, I can take any other questions about that figure.
okay, no, thanks. That answers it. I think that's all. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't like burnout because we have those open positions, basically.
Can I also add that they worked on a list? And so if you're next on list and you're like, no, I don't want to take it, you don't have to. And then they just will move to the next person on list and then you move to the bottom. So.
Absolutely. She's right. It's a rotational overtime listed, fair and equitable to all. And if an officer chooses, would rather not work it or is unavailable, he can decline it. And then it goes down to the next officer on the list to consider.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on to 411, fire protection and prevention. This budget reflects Fire Marshal Stack's salary, as well as 1/2 of administrative assistant who splits her time between fire and building and codes. It also includes contributions to each of the volunteer fire companies in McCandless. That money or that amount of contribution is unchanged from 2020. The number also includes a fire relief allocation that the town receives from the Commonwealth based on foreign fire fees that the state collects for, I guess, foreign insurance companies paying fees to do business within the Commonwealth. The other item of note here is that we had incorporated, or we tried to put in the budget last year or this current year, a annual firefighter physical program. And because of the timing, the issues related to the pandemic and expense, we took that out of the 2020 amended budget, but we put that back in. And we believe that that is a valuable tool to not only set a baseline for the the health and welfare of our volunteer firefighters, but it's a terrific benefit to them that they may not otherwise receive. The other items are Step Up program to enhance membership. We plan to continue. We actually hope to be able to have events again next year, like the family outing and the golf outing and the annual banquet. Those are things that everyone misses and are hard to duplicate in any kind of a virtual manner or meaningful manner to show our appreciation. So we're hoping to be able to start those programs up again next year. 412, the ambulance authority, that is the cost associated with doing the maintenance on the vehicles, the ambulances, and the fuel costs associated with that. And we do show that being fully reimbursed at this point by the authority. .413 code enforcement, that includes the building inspector, full-time building and codes inspector, and the full-time code officer. And otherwise, that remains fairly stable. 414, planning and zoning, includes the costs associated with our planning and development administrator, as well as a full-time administrative assistant, legal services, zoning hearing board expenses. And the big item in this is that we are proposing to start the process of a zoning ordinance rewrite that we anticipate would take about 2 years to complete. That I think, as we indicated in the narrative and in our 2-on-2 meetings, that the ordinance is extremely old in terms of the complete rewrite that occurred. It had been focused on new development rather than where we are at this point with redevelopment. We also want to be able to anticipate changes that are coming with technology and with just new methods of doing things. So we are proposing that be started during 2021. Excuse me. And again, because of the costs associated with this, we will secure proposals in order to be able to do that work. And it is over 2-year period. The 419, the school crossing guards, are the costs associated with the 6 crossing guards that are located at various locations in the town, and that is reimbursed at 50% by the school district. For culture and recreation, you can see that, you can see that's broken out by library, community celebrations, culture, participant recreation, and parks. Culture is the community or the Heritage Center, excuse me. Whoa, sorry about that. Not taking a position by making that faux pas. The Heritage Center cost, and that you'll notice has come down substantially because we historically had taken part of John Bajarski's salary out of there, and we've moved all of that over to citizen information. But it's still includes costs for utilities and other supplies. For 452, the participant recreation, this is costs associated with the summer joint recreation program. If that continues, we have that money budgeted, and that will be dependent on the decision of that board. For community celebrations, this is costs associated with the annual community day. And I will say that we list what has been the typical community day and the events associated with it. I believe that the activities advisory committee being involved now, and as well as the ad hoc committee, anything could occur or change. And so it's just a matter of funds available for any type of community celebration that's planned.
Excuse me, Bob, on our agenda, you have 454, but you went over 452.
That's my error, Kim. It should have been 452. 454 is the library, and it's
454 is
No.
I'm sorry, 454 is the parks.
Parks.
It will be part of the Public Works budget review next week because it includes some of their labor and activities.
Okay. All right. We're paying attention. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you are. You caught us.
Oh, so Bob, just I know I sent you an email on it, but we might just want to think about moving the date of Community Day, since it will be on the, as planned, on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So kind of a odd day for a community celebration, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, I those things are all subject to discussion. I think part of what occurs with any of these is trying to work around other community schedules so that we have a day to ourselves as opposed to fighting other events that are going on. But we can certainly look at the calendar and see what's possible.
Are there any questions? I think that's the last of it. Is that right, Bob? Anything else?
We just wanted to go over the remaining schedule for that. That will include on November 9th, we'll have a similar structure as tonight, where we'll go over programs 426 through 446, as well as 454. Those are Public Works driven departments, as well as parks. 491 through 494 are some administrative in regards to transfers to other funds and refunds. And then there will be a detailed review of the capital improvements program budget for not only next year, but the next 5 years, with the other remaining special revenue funds, the transportation district, state aid, et cetera. November 23rd, we will have a public hearing on the 2021 budget. December 14th, in executive session, we will discuss, and then December 21st will be the approval of the 2021 budget. Are there any questions?
And this is the same schedule that we originally got. I was trying to pull mine out to make sure these are the same dates that yeah, it looks like the same dates that we originally got, just making sure they're the same. Okay, anything else on the budget?
Nothing from us unless you folks have some general questions.
Okay.
I have a question.
Oh,
I'll make it quick. So for those welcome packets that we were talking about earlier, is there any way, I mean, geez, I thought like, I don't know. I mean, in past, I mean, maybe not right now, but wouldn't there be some volunteers who may want to just come in and like give time and put them together for us? Even
Yep.
students or something?
If there are volunteers that want to do that, we would love to have them here.
Yeah,
to
'cause
help
I didn't
us
know if
out.
that's something we could put out there and just see if anyone's like, hey, I've got an hour or two to kill and I can come in and, you know, put some packets together.
Where are we on our volunteer list, the activities committee's putting together?
That is being compiled. I know we do have, and we're trying to be very specific when folks say they want to volunteer for something, that they want to volunteer for recreation, or I don't think we had put volunteer packets on the list of choices, but I can certainly bring that up and see if we can reach out to some people that might
Mhm.
be able to do that.
Trish, also, while we're on that, I know the EAC in their minutes were talking about, you know, getting names of volunteers too. So you might want to collaborate with Shelley and kind of combine your efforts and maybe put that as a one-stop shop someplace on our website so that can all kind of be done together. And any other committee that's interested in having some volunteers.
That was my intention of creating that database for sure. So it'll be-
Perfect. Yeah, because some people may just want to do something simple like assemble papers. They might be very happy doing that, you know, so. Okay, good suggestion. Anyone else?
I had one question. It
Yes.
might be for Gavin or RJ or Bob. When we go to, if we approve the budget and we go to rewrite the zoning code, will there be any winners or losers of somebody that owns a piece of property now because something changed in the code that would be worth more or less after that?
I would say there probably could be winners or losers for sure. I mean, you wouldn't lose any existing rights you have, you know, with the current use. But certainly if there's modifications to use regulations, whether it's, you know, types of uses or lot size changes or setbacks, you know, there certainly could be what would be perceived as negative impacts to some property owners, depending on, you know, what their intent is or their goal is for future use of the property.
Okay.
I will tell
would-
you in the past, Mike, that we have painstakingly and painfully tried extremely hard to make sure that any minimum impact was, or any negative impact was minimized. So that would be a first and foremost goal of anything we're doing. RJ, you agree?
Yeah, I would say, you know, this approach or the way that we're thinking about it is much more focused on, you know, there are some things in the code that the world just doesn't work that way anymore in 2020, as opposed to when they were originally drafted. I would not necessarily foresee the character of the existing areas in town changing very much in a way that would particularly negatively impact any residential neighborhoods. We have pretty generous setbacks already. So I you know, some of those may even just carry forward, but it's really just updating some of the uses so that we get better redevelopment opportunities, more attractive redevelopments, or you know, that we enable the community to you know, have a positive impact through our zoning ordinance instead of sort of just working with what we've got. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Would it save us money on future legal fees?
I would think so. I mean, just based on, you know, we have a zoning hearing board that does great work with what we've got, but variance hearings ain't cheap on our part. And you know, we do have to pay for legal fees and advertising. And right now the application fees don't necessarily cover that. There's also, you know, we've gone through some, even since just I've been here, we've gone through some really heavy hitting zoning ordinance drafting processes. And, you know, I think we did a great job again with what we've got. But when you're looking at sort of all the little parts that we could tweak and making sure that, you know, one part of the code changing doesn't break the other part that may be referenced, there's really an efficiency and an economy of scale to be gained by doing it this way instead of kind of trying to tackle things as they come up.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and to RJ's point, Mike, you probably see I'm on the town attorney report on a regular basis. There's an omnibus draft ordinance that's been in the works for quite some time. And that we run into that problem that RJ just described. Whenever you make a change or try to clean up an item here, it creates another problem in another section of the code. So that more holistic approach does seem to make sense from an efficiency standpoint.
Thank you both.
Any other comments? Okay, next order of new business. Do you want to tell us about, I didn't see anything on what the fall commodity bids were. I didn't get any information on that.
Well, and forgive me, I meant to forward some information to you. I realized when I looked at the agenda again this evening that was the thing that kept nagging at me all weekend that I forgot to include. This is something that, again, that I was used to doing in my past, just to cover us so that we can say that we have awarded these bids, and we can send out an award letter if we choose to use some of the items. The South Hills Area Council of Governments semi-annually does a bids for various items based on spring commodities or fall commodities. And by and large, they are focused on what you would have to use over the next 6 months' time. These commodities for the fall include bagged rock salt, calcium chloride, different de-icers, gasoline and diesel fuel, liquid calcium chloride, magnesium chloride, various lubricants and greases. The odd thing here is pesticides, pre-mixed salt brine, and snow plow blades and cutting edges and things like that. So those are the items that are included in the list. We may use the greases and oils, as well as the gasoline and diesel fuel. But by and large, these are just some small items that we may choose to buy, but we wanted to have action taken to approve these bids. And they are joint bids that occur, as I said, semi-annually through the SHACOG system.
I would like to, if council's agreeable, I would like to put this motion off until we've had a chance to review these. Is that all right? Nods? Okay, all right, all right. So
Do you need a motion to that effect?
We didn't make a motion to accept this. So Gavin, do we need to do a motion, or can we just?
You do
defer
not need to do them.
Okay, all right, all right. All right, so if that's okay with everybody, we're just going to defer 12B until we can look at that, look it over, so we know what we're making a motion for. So council, is there any other new business? Let me say that. Okay. New business, old business, okay. All right, then I'm about to take a motion to adjourn, but I just want to announce that council will be going into an executive session after we adjourn this meeting to discuss political litigation. So if I could have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Okay,
I'll second.
I think Shelley got that one, and I think that was Councilmember Woods I heard also. Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned.